Hi guys, it's Stuart. I'm back again and welcome to the Film Wheelcast, where we're going to be looking at episode 2, season 1 of The Shield. And let's get a recap first of all. Actually, before we go ahead, I have to say there's going to be complete plot spoilers in this. We're going to be talking about storylines, probably hinting at future storylines of things that's going to happen. So if you haven't seen episode 1, go back, watch that. That's available already to review and have a watch. Episode 2, we're going to be talking about that. As I say, if you haven't seen it, watch episode 2. It's on Amazon Prime. Other platforms obviously are available, legally or not. I really don't know, but if they're there, they're there. Have a look and then watch this review. See if you agree. Leave some feedback. It'd be great to know if you agree with what I'm saying. I mean, I could be talking utter nonsense and you think, no, you're completely wrong. Vic's wrong, Vic's right. Aceveda, the captain's right, he's wrong. It'll be really, really good to gauge your thoughts. And also improve this broadcast. Is there something that I'm doing that could be improved? I mean, we're only on number 2. Let me know. It's a learning process for me as well. And also, if you love films, any kind of films, Marvel, Jaws, American Werewolf in London, Snakes on a Plane, anything like that, Anchorman. We've also got the podcast available on all good platforms where it's myself, James, we've just had Paul come onto the crew as well. So there's so many varied films that we're looking at, reviewing. Up and coming, we've got next week is The Equalizer with Denzel Washington. So there's something for everyone there. There's over 100 podcasts. We've got Flash and Arrow, our Flarrow series that we did until the series dive bombed, in our opinion, that is. And we stopped reviewing it because it was utter trash and it was just painful to watch as well as review films. But there's something for everyone. Android and Apple, you'll be able to find it. So let's get on with series 2 or episode 2, season 1 of The Shield. And you get a recap, you get what happened. So if you don't remember, the strike team went to look at 2 times address to make a drugs bust. Obviously there was more to it than that. The real reason why they were doing it was because to get him off the scene, and then other drug dealers can come in and profit, along with Vic Mackey profiting as well. And it was only Shane, who was in the property at the time, who was there witnessing when Vic shot Terry Crowley, who we also saw was working with David Aceveda and the government to try and bring down, or the justice system, to try and bring down Vic Mackey mainly, and the strike team as well, because they believe he was a crooked cop making money off bad drug deals, prostitution, things like that. And they wanted to get him off the scene and wanted to get him put in prison. So you find out throughout this series that there is a lot more to it. There's a lot more people involved and a lot more people profiting who have got to look over their shoulder every time something goes wrong. So you next see that Vic calls up that there's an officer down, that someone's been shot, and it's Terry, and that he sounds really distressed. He sounds really believable that something's actually happened. And if you didn't know that he was so guilty, you'd believe it yourself that he actually cared. Maybe he does care, I don't know. But they all go outside the ER in the hospital, where you've got detectives, you've got the captain, you've got the strike team, all waiting outside the hospital, waiting for the news on Terry. Is he going to live? Is he going to die? And Vic plays a really, really good poker face outside the hospital. And you'd believe yourself, if you hadn't seen it and witnessed it in episode 1, that he was just as guilty as 2 times his drug dealing. And he plays a really, really good game. I wouldn't want to play poker with Vic because I don't think I'd win. I mean, outside the hospital, Ronnie and Curtis have no idea. They weren't present when Vic actually shot Terry, that Vic's responsible for it. Lem punches through a window. Ronnie's saying that he's responsible. He should have cleared the room. And all the while, Vic is letting his team, or 2 of them, take full responsibility, take on that guilt that Terry's death was their fault. And it's really, really good. So they go back to the barn where Internal Affairs, IA, are there to, first of all, investigate Vic. And as I say, Vic shows no guilt at the moment, no guilt as to what happened. He's there, really believable, went in there, had enough for him, should have cleared the room, I admit, but it was my fault. He pretends he takes on that guilt and responsibility, and they lap it up. Internal Affairs officers absolutely lap up his so-called guilt. Then Shane goes in And Shane, you'll see throughout all of this, especially in season 6 and season 7, that Shane isn't the strongest, he's not the cleverest, and he doesn't hold guilt very well. So Aceveda knows that, and that's who he targets later on. So, and Danny also tells Julian outside, because you get all of these storylines kind of running parallel of each other, that an officer was shot, we need to take control of the streets, we need to show that it's not open season on police officers and that anyone can be killed. So the first person they come across, deal with them with brute force, show them that they cannot take the piss out of the police. Julian's only 3 weeks in to his probation, so Danny's experience, he's going to believe what Danny says and he'll do what Danny says. So the first time they go out, they come across a churros seller he's shot, he's laying on the floor, some guy's going for his pockets. They pull up, they see what they believe possibly could be a robbery, and Julian is saying, move, 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 stay away from him, leave him alone. Danny shouting out the same instructions. Julian just sees red, obviously he's been told to use force, picks up this guy, throws him into the churros stand, smashing it, knocking sugar, knocking everything everywhere. And he's just doing what he's told to do by Danny. And you get to see that Dutch and Claudette will be the ones who'll take on that investigation. And again, you see their style of policing completely different. Dutch and Wims, old school. I like to think I know better than anyone else. Next, it's Terry's funeral. Now, along with Aceveda has to do the funeral. He's told by a guy called Gilroy, who's the assistant chief. He was the one who created the strike team. He's fully backing Vic. He's not the sharpest tool in the drawer, but he can play the game. He's very political. He knows how to do that. He's got Vic's back, and he likes to think that Vic has his back as well. Again, you'll see this down the line. Vic has no loyalty to anyone, apart from his family, but mainly himself. So you see Terry's funeral, where it's very respectful, apart from Vic stands there. Jesus, he's got no remorse whatsoever. And played alongside that is 2 Times funeral, where it's all the gangs there. They put jewellery, they put photographs, they put guns on 2 Times. It's a gang funeral. I mean, make it what you wish, but you see the kind of contrast as in police funeral, gang funeral. And after the funeral, Vic and Shane, Aceveda sees them arguing. Shane looks really shaken, and Vic is visibly trying to calm him down, trying to pull him back, but Shane's having none of it. So Vic knows that Aceveda's looking, and he's trying to play it down. He's trying to tell Shane, just calm down, but Aceveda's watching, and he knows Vic's corrupt. He knows, but he just cannot prove it. So the way that he tries to prove it is really, really sneaky, really underhand. And again, Dutch is being someone's bitch all along. That he calls Vic in, and he interviews Vic about the shooting, and he asks him just a couple of questions. Did you clear the room? Who was present? Who shot first? Vic answers those questions, and Aceveda says, fine, you can go, not a problem. Dutch is really confused as to, well, what did you expect him to have a sudden conscience, sudden guilt, and actually admit what he did? And Aceveda says, no. What we want to do is make him believe that the heat's off him. We'll concentrate on the weak. And again, as I said, Shane is the weak. He's the weak in intelligence, and he's the weak in conscience, and he's very, very weak-willed. So meanwhile, Dutch and Wims are investigating the churros seller murder. Marlon Demeral's arrested, as he's been named, as collecting protection money. However, upon speaking to him, that he discloses that the Mexicans have actually moved into the area, and now they're running the protection racket. It's a gang called Los Magnificos, who's actually taking money, and upon refusing the money, it's one of them that took him out. And it's an initiation shooting, being that it's one of the new members of the gang, one of the children who have taken him out to earn their mark, to earn their respect, to be accepted into the gang. And it will be his first killing. So Vic and the rest of the kind of the strike team and the uniform police line up and actually arrest this kid. This kid's only about 11 years old, and they arrest him just after he gets a beatdown, and the beatdown is it's an initiation into part of the gang. He's surrounded by the kind of the elders, and they just continuously beat shit out of him. He can't fight back, and when they're happy that they've done enough, he's part of the gang. So he's arrested, and Claudette and Dutch kind of take a swing at him as arresting him. And meanwhile, whilst this is happening, Shane is taken into the interrogation room by Dutch and by the captain. And they're asked, he's asked again and again and again, what happened to Terry, because the story doesn't add up. And they say they've got a witness who, and they know, and they can prove, they're bullshitting, but they can prove that Terry was killed by one of the strike team. And they want Vic, they're gunning after Vic. They actually tell Shane, look, just admit it. If you say Vic did it, you can walk away from this and we can nail one crooked cop. And Shane is just about to crack. And they even say to him, there was a shot fired 15 seconds after the initial shot. And that was a shot done by Vic. And that was the one that killed Terry. And Shane's about to crack. And Vic walks in and just says, what the hell is going on? Shane, get out. And he has a go at Aceveda. And Aceveda says, I know what you did. I can't prove it, but I know you killed Terry. And Vic just stands there and smiles and just says, no, I didn't. And you can't prove it. You'll never be able to prove I did anything. And that pisses Aceveda off so much. And this is the cockfight that goes on for 7 seasons. So Claudette says to the kid, the churro seller, she's told that he's come out alive from the operation and it is going to be actually safe and well. But she says that he died in the operating theatre and that Marlon Demerol is taking responsibility for the killing. And obviously this discredits the kid and he won't be allowed into the gang if he doesn't actually say the truth, that he was the one responsible. So the kid just actually opens up and admits, I was the one who did it. And she said, you're going to go to prison. I don't care. I've got family in prison. All the gangs, all the Latinos, all the Mexicans, they're all going to be there. And I can carry on the war there. I can join my family there and I don't care. So that's a real easy arrest. And there's kind of no pressure on Claudette. She knows what she's doing. It's a kid shooting. So it's absolutely fine. And it ends. And it's a really, really interesting ending because Vic's leaving the police station and he's leaving with Gilroy. Remember, Gilroy is the one who started the strike team. You can clearly see he's a good friend of Vic's. And Gilroy says, the shooting went down as you said. He just asked a question. He wants to make sure, he wants reassurance for himself that that's the way the shooting went. And he says, you know I've got your back. And he says to Vic, also, I was the one, remember, who told you that Terry was carrying out an investigation on behalf of the Justice Department on you and your team. So there you go. There's that golden ticket. There's that reason why Vic would be the one. But he hasn't told Aceveda that. If Aceveda knew that Gilroy was the one who told Vic, that's probably that final piece of the jigsaw that he can have to actually maybe even arrest Vic and question him about it. But Vic says, I've got your back. And Gilroy really isn't too sure. But he's committed himself now because he's the one who's told Vic about Terry. So there is no going back. And it just goes to show that Vic has no loyalty over Gilroy, who's an old friend, over any of the strike team. Remember, he's leaving Ronnie and Curtis to feel guilty and responsible for not clearing the room. And he's a so-called friend and colleague of both of them. So it ends with Vic leaving the barn, basically with a massive middle finger up to Aceveda, because he's got away with murder at the moment. Will he get away with it? Finally, you just have to wait and see. So you've got IA investigated Vic and the strike team have cleared them. Aceveda knows Vic done it, cannot prove it. Assistant Chief Gilroy, close friend of Vic, has committed himself on Vic's side. He's sold his soul to the devil. Whether he likes it or not, he sold his soul. And he's got to live with that decision throughout his career. And trust me, I won't give it away, but when I say it really comes back to bite him on the arse, it really, really does. So, and that's in about season 4 or 5 that does. So it takes a long time to play out. But again, as many episodes this will happen, Vic walks away scot-free, conscience guilt-free. So that's episode 2, season 1 of The Shield, called Our Gang. I hope you enjoyed that. As I say, watch it. Watch this review and let me know what you think. I'd really value your opinions. So just add a comment, give me a thumbs up. I really kind of want to make this work. I want to give you the best kind of review possible. So any help, any advice, any comments, I'd be really grateful. But I'm Stuart, I'm signing off, and this is the Film Reel Cast, and I'll be back with another one, episode 3.